Hello and a very warm welcome to the special edition of Rajya Sabha Television Question Hour from the Parliament House complex, where we bring you important unstarred questions asked by the members of the Rajya Sabha and the answers given by the government during the last Parliament session. I'm Kriti Mishra, and joining me is my colleague Vishal Dhaya.
Well, thank you, Kriti, and let's take our viewers through some important questions. And we begin with the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare. Now, the first question is from member Ramkumar Kashyap, who goes on to ask the government whether it plans to set minimum support price at 1.5 times of the comprehensive cost as per recommendations of the Swaminathan Committee, and if so, the details of the proposal and the committee's recommendation would be implemented in what time frame?
Well, the government has given a very comprehensive reply here, and the government goes on to say that National Commission on Farmers, headed by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, had recommended that minimum support price should be at least 50% more than the weighted average cost of production. However, when the National Policy for Farmers 2007 was finalized by then government, this recommendation of providing 50% returns over cost of production was not included. While recommending MSPs, CACP considers the cost of production and host of factors such as demand-supply situation, trends in domestic and international prices, inter-crop price parity, terms of trade between agricultural and non-agricultural sectors, and the likely impact of MSP on consumers and overall economy, along with rational utilization of scarce natural resources like land and water. The costs considered are comprehensive and include all paid out costs, such as those incurred on account of hired human labor, bullock, machine labor, rent paid for leased in land, expenses incurred in cash in kind, on use of material inputs like seeds, fertilizers, manures, irrigation charges, depreciation on implants and farm buildings, interest on working capital, diesel, electricity for operation of pumps, sets, etc., miscellaneous expenses and imputed value of family labor. The Union Budget for 2018-19 had announced the predetermined principle to keep MSP at levels of 1.5 times the cost of production. Accordingly, government has increased MSPs for all mandated Kharif, Rabi and other commercial crops with a return of at least 50% of cost of production for the agricultural year 2018-19. This decision of the government was a historic one, as it fulfills the commitment to the farmers to provide 50% return overall weighted average cost of production for the first time for all mandated crops. Moving on to the next question, and this one also pertains to the Ministry of Agriculture, and the member is Tirchi Siva, and he has asked whether the government is setting up an old age pension scheme for farmers over the age of 60 years.
Well, the government has given a detailed answer to this one as well, and in its answer, the ministry says that there are various schemes or programs being implemented by the government, which among others cover people above 60 years of age, and this includes farmers as well. Now, some of these schemes are the Atal Pension Yojana, APY, Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Indira Gandhi Old Age Pension Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Integrated Program of Older Persons, Rashtriya Vyashri Yojana, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, and Pradhan Mantri Vay Vandana Yojana. Now, the ministry says that in addition to this, with a view to augment the income of small and marginal farmers, the government in the Union Budget 2019 has announced Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, that is PM Kisan, a new central sector scheme which will be 100% funded by the Government of India. Under the scheme, financial benefit of 6,000 per year will be provided to all small and marginal farmer families having cultivable land holding up to 2 hectares. Now, this financial benefit will be provided in 3 equal installments of rupees 2,000 each in a period of every 4 months in a financial year. Now, the benefit will be admissible under the scheme with effect from 1st of December 2018. Now, the definition under this scheme of a small and marginal landholder farmer family is comprising of husband, wife and minor children who collectively own cultivable land up to 2 hectares as per the land records of the concerned state or the union territory. Therefore, a farmer, irrespective of age, can avail of this benefit of income support provided that his or her family is of small and marginal category and eligible for this scheme as per the guidelines of the scheme. Now, the next question is also to the Ministry of Agriculture, and this one is from member Muhammad Ali Khan, who goes on to ask the government whether it is a fact that some states are still not covered under the e-NAM platform.
Well, the government goes on to say that so far 585 wholesale unregulated markets of 16 states and 2 union territories have been integrated with the e-NAM platform. The government further goes on to say that introduction of e-NAM facilitated for transparent price discovery for remunerative prices to the farmers for their produce through competitive online bidding system. The e-NAM portal has witnessed a continuous increase in average number of bids per lot since its inception in April 2016. During 2016-17, the average bid per lot was 2.5, which increased to 3.2 in 2017-18 and is around 3.8 in 2018-19 till January 2019. The increase in soil testing infrastructure has resulted in increasing soil testing capacity at ground level. This has facilitated quick testing of samples and distribution of soil health cards, with fertilizer recommendations for farmers to adopt. The National Productivity Council on Soil Testing Infrastructure for Faster Delivery of Soil Health Cards in India has stated that savings of 8 to 10% of fertilizer and 5 to 6% increase in crop yield as a result of fertilizer application as per the recommendation of soil health cards. Moving on to the next question, and this one pertains to the Ministry of Finance, and the member is Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and he has asked the Ministry of Finance about the details of GST levied on agriculture-related products.
Well, the Ministry of Finance has said in its answer that the GST rates are prescribed on the recommendations of the GST Council, and while doing so, the Council takes into account all relevant factors, including pre-GST tax incidents. Now, broadly, GST rates for agriculture sector, as demanded by the member, are agriculture produce like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, wheat, rice, pulses, etc., other than those which are put up in unit container, attract nil GST rate. Hand-operated tools used in agriculture also attract nil GST rate. Implements and machinery exclusively used in agriculture activities in general attract concessional GST rate of 12%. And the last, items of general use attract GST rate of 12% to 18%. Well, the next question is also to the Ministry of Finance, and this one is from member CM Ramesh, who goes on to ask the government whether it is a fact that LPG, kerosene, naphtha, furnace oil and Tide diesel oil attract GST, but 5 other petroleum products such as crude oil, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, that is petrol, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel lie outside the GST tax regime.
The answer given by the government is an affirmative, and the government goes on to say that LPG, kerosene, naphtha, furnace oil and light diesel oil attract GST. 5 petroleum products, namely crude oil, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel, are outside the ambit of GST. The government further goes on to say that as per Article 279A5 of the Constitution, the Goods and Services Tax Council shall recommend the date on which the goods and services tax be levied on petroleum crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas and aviation turbine fuel. So far, the GST Council has not made any recommendation for inclusion of petroleum products under GST. The Council may consider the issue of inclusion of 5 petroleum products at a time it considers appropriate, keeping in view all the relevant factors, including revenue implications. Moving on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Hishe Lachinpa. And the member has asked whether Securities and Exchange Board of India intends to relax listing rules for startup companies in certain sectors.
Well, the Ministry of Finance in its answer says that SEBI in its meeting held on 12th of December 2018 in principle approved certain amendments pertaining to institutional trading platform, including renaming it as Innovators Growth Platform, that is IGP, in view of the evolving startup ecosystem and to make the IGP platform more accessible for companies including startups and new age companies. The ministry goes on to say that there are no sector-specific relaxations in the listing criteria. However, IGP is being designated as a platform for companies, including new-age companies and startups, which are intensive in the use of technology, information technology, intellectual property, data analytics, biotechnology or nanotechnology to provide products, services or business platforms with substantial value. The ministry also says that the proposed IGP offers a simplified framework for listing. For example, as compared to the conditions for a main board IPO, wherein minimum number of allottees should be 1,000, the minimum number of allottees proposed in this are just 50. The next question is to the Ministry of Commerce, and this one is from the member Kirodi Lal Meena, who goes on to ask the government whether e-commerce has become the fastest growing trade channel which is facilitating transport or trade of goods and services owing to advanced technological innovations.
The Ministry of Commerce and Industry goes on to say that no such assessment has been made by the government so far. However, the e-commerce market, as per the WTO's World Trade Report 2018, was of the order of $27.7 trillion in 2016, of which $23.9 trillion was business-to-business transactions. As per the UNCTAD Information Economy Report 2017, exports of information and communications technology services grew by 40% between 2010 and 2015. Worldwide e-commerce sales in 2015 reached $25.3 trillion, 90% of which were in the form of business-to-business e-commerce and 10% in the form of business-to-consumer sales. The report estimates that cross-border business-to-commerce e-commerce was worth about $189 billion in 2015, which corresponds to 7% of total business-to-commerce e-commerce sales. Moving on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Dr. Vikas Mahatme, and he has asked whether the government has undertaken any study on the SEZ policy.
Well, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in its reply says that the government had constituted a group of eminent persons under the chairmanship of Shri Baba Kalyani, the chairman of Messrs. Bharat Forge, to study the SEZ policy of India on 4th of June 2018. Now, one of the terms of reference for this group was to make the SEZ policy WTO compatible. Now, the group submitted its report to the government on 19th of November 2018. The legal and accounting services, which were earlier excluded from SEZ rules 2006, have been included in the rules by notification dated 3rd of January 2017. Another notification dated 19th of September 2018, the minimum land area requirement for biotechnology and health sector SEZs, excluding hospitals, has been done away with, and a requirement of minimum built-up area has also been introduced. So let's now move on to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and this time the question comes in from the member KVP Ramchandra Rao, who goes on to ask the government about the present status of the national gas grid, and also whether government proposes to develop any additional kilometre to the national grid to connect the eastern parts of the country.
Well, the government has given a very detailed reply, and it goes on to say that plans are afoot to develop national gas grid. At present, about 16,788 kilometres natural gas pipeline is operational, and about 14,239 kilometres gas pipeline are being developed to increase the availability of natural gas across the country. These pipelines have been authorized by Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board and are at various stages of execution, pre-project activities, laying, testing, commissioning. The PNGRB has authorized GAIL to develop Northeast Gas Pipeline to develop approximately 750 kilometers long Baruni-Guwahati pipeline as an integral part of Jagdishpur-Haldia-Bokaro-Dharma pipeline project, which will connect Northeast region with national gas grid. Further, PNGRB has also authorized Indradhanush Gas Grid Limited, a joint venture company of 5 central public sector enterprises, for the development of Northeast Gas Grid to connect 8 states of northeastern India. Moving on to the Ministry of Civil Aviation now, and this question has been asked by member Shantanu Sen, and he has asked whether there's an increase in the number of domestic passengers in India, and he has also asked whether carrying capacity of airports are in accordance with increased number.
Well, the Ministry of Civil Aviation in its detailed answer says that at present the terminal capacity at all operational airports of Airport Authority of India along with 7 joint venture airports, namely Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Cochin, Nagpur and Kannur is 346 MPPA, that's million passengers per annum, against the demand of 309 MPPA handled during the year 2017-18. Further, increasing airports capacity is a continuous process and is undertaken by the AAI and concerned private operators from time to time depending on the availability of land, commercial viability, socio-economic considerations, traffic demand, willingness of airlines to operate to and from such airports, etc. Now, AAI has undertaken and completed development and expansion works at many airports such as Vadodara, Shimla, Bhatinda, Vijayawada, Belagavi, Kishangarh, Goa, Hubli, Jaipur, Lucknow, Mangaluru, Trivandrum, Calicut, Teju, Adampur, Gorakhpur, Jharsuguda and Prayagraj, etc. in the last 3 years. Also, greenfield airports at Pakyong, Shirdi and Kannur have been operationalized during the last 3 years. Now, further, to meet the demand, the Airports Authority of India has embarked on a capital expenditure plan of 25,000 crore in next 4 to 5 years for development, modernization and upgradation of various airports in the country. Now, the next question is also to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and this is from 2 members of the Upper House, T. Subbirami Reddy and Ambika Soni. Both of them asked the government whether it has introduced a program called Digi Yatra for air passengers.
The government goes on to say that Digi Yatra is an initiative of the Ministry of Civil Aviation to provide seamless and hassle-free passenger processing at Indian airports, without the need for verification of ticket and ID at multiple touch points. Passengers are to enroll themselves in this program for a seamless travel experience. Identification and validation of his or her ticket is to be done by a biometric system. Option of manual procedure is also envisaged in this program. Using cutting-edge identity management and face recognition technologies, Digi Yatra aims to simplify the passenger processes at various checkpoints in the airport, right from the terminal entry gate, check-in, bag drop, security check and boarding gates. Implementation of Digi Yatra will improve passenger experience, reduce queue waiting time at the airport by walking through e-gates swiftly owing to advanced security solution, removal of redundancy at checkpoints and enhancing resource utilization. Digi Yatra is going to be rolled out at multiple airports in a phased manner. In the first phase, this project is likely to be started at Kolkata, Pune, Vijayawada, Varanasi, Hyderabad, Bengaluru, Cochin, Mumbai and Delhi airports. Now on to the last question, and this question has been asked by member Derek O'Brien to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and he has inquired about the salient features of the new drone policy released by the Ministry of Civil Aviation.
Well, the Civil Aviation Ministry in its answer says that the Aircraft Rule 1937 was amended on 1st of November 2017 to include Rule 15A to enable operations of remotely piloted aircraft systems, which are also commonly known as drones. Now, subsequently, the Director General of Civil Aviation issued Civil Aviation Requirements, that is CAR, on 27th of August 2018, which have become effective from 1st of December 2018. The Civil Aviation Requirements restricts operations of RPAs to visual line of sight. However, there is a provision in the CAR as per para 14.1 for authorizing operations of RPAs in beyond visual line of sight on case-to-case basis, subject to adequate justification provided by the applicant for safe conduct of the RPA's operations or the operation of drones. So, well, Kriti, these were some important questions and answers which we brought to our viewers in today's episode.
That's right, Vishal. Next week, we'll have more questions and answers in Question Hour. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.